forsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm better than layman.
Welcome everybody to 3 Count Commentaries, AEW Dynamite. Terrible show, boring show. We're going to talk about it though. August the 6th. What did I think it was April for? Anyway, the story of the week so far for AEW was that MVP allegedly didn't like Speedball Mike Bailey. It hit the internet like a napalm bomb. A bunch of people got mad and upset. And then shortly before Dynamite ended, MVP and Speedball Bailey do a joke video saying F you to each other, showing that there probably is not much to that story. So that's why I don't really rush to do videos, because I guess if you wait a little bit, you know, things will clear themselves up. Look, there might be something to this in terms of MVP not liking Speedball Mike Bailey, or not liking the creative ideas to lose to certain people, and him telling Shelton and Lashley, maybe we ought to pass on this deal or that deal, whatever the case may be. That all could still be happening. But ultimately, once I saw the video of MVP and Mike Bailey doing their thing together and cracking jokes, I figure it's not worth spending too much time on. So I basically, and that's one reason why I wait. Almost always wait a little bit just to get more information, and so I won't be jumping to a conclusion, because Dirt Sheet's gonna dirt sheet, man. They got a scoop, and now they're saying, oh, MVP hates him. I don't know why they hate him. Why would he hate this guy? We don't know. There's no reason. There was no reason given. It was just pretty random. So we'll see if it's true or not, but as of right now, I'm gonna say it's been debunked, as MVP and Speedball Bailey did a video together basically debunking the whole thing, which I'm not surprised, to be quite honest, because it felt random in the first place. And it was always the same stuff that former quote-unquote WWE talent end up having to deal with, which is the dirt sheets telling the world that they're too good to lose to certain people, and they're acting high and mighty in the locker room. You know, this is death when it comes to AEW fans. They don't want to hear this. They hate this. For them, it only makes them want to build a tighter cocoon around themselves and keep all the other WWE guys out, their fans, the wrestlers, the whole 9 yards. In reality, they're probably just making too much of it. All right, let's get into this show. It was terrible, by the way. Terrible show. It dragged, brother. This episode of Dynamite, and you know, a lot of episodes of Dynamite, they lack energy. And that's one thing I'll say. When Dynamite was actively very bad, 2019, 2020, they still had energy. And it had energy because the fans believed in the product and they were happy to be there. Now the fans are just kind of, I don't know, happy to be there or just out for the night. It's hard to tell. But they don't give you much to get too excited about either when it comes to AEW. So we start the show with MJF carrying some CMLL title. Now, he called it a world title. Well, Excalibur did. So I went to Lucha Blog, and it's not a world title. It's like a light heavyweight championship or something like that he won over the weekend. It was not explained. He just popped up with a CMLL belt. Whatever. He called Hangman Page the coward again. Said he's going to send Mark Briscoe back to hell because he's the devil. Going to make him his blue-collar bitch and call him white trash, and said that people feel bad for him. That's why they cheer him. Mark Briscoe later got a little bit of a pep talk from Hangman Page. After Mark Briscoe said that there was no more time for words and now it's time for a day of atonement. Hangman said he's known Mark Briscoe for 13 or 14 years. He's always admired the Briscoes. And he really hopes that Mark Briscoe wins because he wants to fight Mark Briscoe for the world title. All that's very good. Mark Briscoe was somewhat intense. I wish he had not really said that much. He really just should have said, I did all my talking already. And then Hangman Page walk in. But then they had the match. And I got to tell you, I felt like intensity was missing from this match. It felt like a really normal match. Like they built it as a grudge match. Mark Briscoe was kind of build coming in as being sort of a madman who is incensed by MJF. And yet it came across like a really, really normal match. It didn't seem like Mark Briscoe was out for blood. That MJF did try to run away from him and stuff like that. But this is where you start out with a wild brawl. You know, where Mark Briscoe attacks MJF during his entrance and starts ripping out his eyes and face and all that kind of stuff. That's how you start a match like this. And that's what I mean by psychology. You know, people say ring psychology is bullshit. It doesn't mean it. You ain't watched enough wrestling. And you haven't watched enough wrestling from a lot of different eras. If you don't think ring psychology is real, you have never watched Southern wrestling. You've never seen a kick-ass Southern babyface. Right? They run to the ring and immediately start throwing hands. That's in a situation like this, when you are in a grudge situation. That's how you start the match. You get in there, you take 3-4 punches to the head, you take a bump, then you roll out of the ring. You know, as the crowd is going wild, the heel tries to jump over the barricade, run away. And he starts trying to go up the ramp, and the babyface goes and gets him. Drags him back to the ring by his hair, throw him back in there. The heel begs off, "No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Hides behind the referee, pokes him in the eye or something, and then you get your regular match started. That's ring psychology. That's wrestling 101. I didn't see that here, but then again, I was damn near dead by the time this show was over. Skipping through the match, there was a froggy bow from Mark Briscoe. I always liked that move. He tried it again on top of a table, but MJF moved and he crashed through the table. MJF wins the match with a heat seeker, which is a power driver, in the ropes. Mark Briscoe's foot was on the rope, but the idiot referee missed it, so MJF was announced as the winner. Now I like the idea of them doing sort of a fuck finish when it comes to Mark Briscoe, because it doesn't kill his character. He didn't go in there and lose clean. He lost because the referee is incompetent. So now it gives him a rematch, okay? So MJF attacks Mark Briscoe after the match. He's going to hit him with the Dynamite ring. Hangman comes out there. He fights off MJF. The two of them brawl as the show goes off the air. So they haven't killed Mark Briscoe. They did the right thing, and MJF won the match. But they didn't kill Mark Briscoe. They left something for him to complain about. So obviously this MJF thing with Mark Briscoe is not over. They're probably going to have one more match. Likely some kind of stipulation, no holds barred or something like that. And it's all about building heat. And MJF is going to win that match too. And it's all about building the heat for Hangman. Hangman is going to be the avenging angel for Mark Briscoe. They should probably do an angle where MJF puts Mark Briscoe down. I'm talking about puts him like on a stretcher or something like that, as a way of writing him off for a little bit. Because when you have a guy like a Mark Briscoe and he's a strong, kick-ass, babyface character, and he's not going to win the feud, either you have to divert him some way, which you're not going to have a diversion because MJF doesn't have any allies, or you do an injury angle or something like that to write him off TV for a little bit while he does what he needs to do with Hangman, and then you reintroduce him and have Mark Briscoe kick MJF's ass. Now, one of the problems here is that MJF doesn't really get a lot of comeuppance, which is why he still has so much heat, even though he may lose a match. I think the Wardlow thing was the only time he really got like genuine comeuppance. Other than that, MJF may lose a match, but that's about it. So they're still doing this Hangman Page thing, trying to get people to like him. I'm not interested in that at all. MJF wasn't done, however. He talked to the Hurt Syndicate earlier in the night. Shelton and Bobby was with MVP, and they were talking about the tag team tournament that even they were too bored to discuss. When MJF walked up, Bobby and Shelton left. MVP says that he knows MJF, knew him since he was 18 years old, loves him like a little brother. But he said when he let him in the Hurt Syndicate, the slogan was, "We hurt people." But MJF's ego is too much, and it has to be what it has to be. And he said he hopes that MJF is unsuccessful in his endeavor to become the AEW World Champion. Because if he is successful, Bobby Lashley is going to come after him. And it ain't going to be business. It's going to be very, very personal. And, you know, my ears perked up a little bit when I heard Bobby Lashley fighting for the world title. I was like, really? I like that idea. The problem I have here is everybody has the same problem. It's happening way too soon. Yes, the slogan is "We hurt people," but you're supposed to tell that story a little bit differently over the course of more time. Maybe have the Hurt Syndicate lose their tag team championships because MVP was being, not MVP, but MJF was being, too many initials. MJF was being too selfish and he didn't show up to help them or something like that. So he cost them a match or he cost them a championship. But he's been there. Remember, he helped them when they beat up Jet Speed and all that kind of stuff. He was there. So he was part of the We Hurt People. But he also expected them to help him get a world title. So it seems to me like he hadn't done anything wrong yet. Like they should have put him in position to drop the ball a bunch of times. Like if they'd have lost the tag team titles at All In because MJF was fucking around with that world title thing or whatever, didn't show up to help, that would have made sense. It would have been okay, he dropped the ball, he wasn't doing his part. But at least as I'm looking at it right now, and maybe I'm not paying that close attention, he hadn't done anything wrong yet. I feel like they just didn't want this thing together. And it might be that MVP has some kind of heat and they're going to start, dissipating the Hurt business a little bit in terms of separating them from MJF and probably taking the tag team titles off of them. So we'll see if there's some real heat there in the coming weeks. If the Hurt Syndicate lose the tag team championships and basically disappear from TV, you know that the MVP story is real. All right, Speedball Mike Bailey for his issues of the night. He had a really boring match with Jon Moxley. Here's the issue with Speedball Mike Bailey. I don't believe him. That's the number one issue. He's got like a Johnny Cage gimmick, and I don't believe him. None of his offense looks legitimate. Only his really spinning kick. He does like one spin kick that looks like it hurts. The rest of his offense looks like shit. They did a spot where Marina Shafir was sizing up with Kevin Knight. What is this about? And then Kevin Knight sized up with Moxley. I'm like, what is that? Why are they doing this? And then Darby Allin kidnapped Wheeler Yuta. Huh? Anyway, Moxley won the match with the Death Rider. After the match, Moxley pursued Darby Allin to get Yuta back. And Yuta was in a sack. I guess it's supposed to be like a body bag with Forbidden Door on a message taped to his head. And they said, this is a threat, a challenge to Jon Moxley. Oh, okay. Look, this works a lot less with Moxley losing the title. Now you see why, even though Luger beat Hogan, they took the belt from Luger quickly, right? Because the end game is Sting. So if Darby was always going to be the end game, and that's what the story was going to be, then Moxley should still be the champion. I don't know. This story took a huge hit when Moxley lost the belt, and now he doesn't have it. Now I don't even know what they're feuding over. What are they feuding over? They haven't cut promos on each other, so what's the problem here? I don't know. Next. Oh, yeah, next week, Moxley's wrestling Kevin Knight. That should be fun. Kevin Knight's good. Next, Alex Windsor and Tony Storm do a promo where they talk about beating each other off, giving each other licks, and whipping out things and tits. This is a women's wrestling promo in 2025. They did a Fatal 4-Way match because they're doing a Fatal 4-Way at Forbidden Door or some kind of tumbling match where there's more than one person. And they have to decide who's going to represent AEW in this match. So they got Sky Blue versus Queen Aminata versus Billy Starks versus Alex Windsor. So Alex Windsor won the match. This match was atrocious. Sky Blue, boy, She is a good-looking girl, but she has zero charisma, and it's almost like her body parts are a disconnected stack of bolts. Like, she tried to do a code red, botched it, ended up hitting her head on the chair. She didn't even hit her head on the chair. She just kind of grabbed the chair and jerked her head towards the chair. It was ridiculous. Okay, this was a truly ridiculous match. Alex Windsor wins the match. It was what it was. Toni Storm attacked Athena, who was interfering in the match. Then Toni Storm took an eclipse from Athena later. Mercedes Moné told Renee to stop being a mark as she was talking about all of her new championships. Because apparently she's a champion of some Polish wrestling company that made a belt specifically for her. Look, the whole reason nobody takes this stuff seriously is because at some point we start having to ask, what do all of these belts mean? It looks nice. It really, you see the picture of Ultimo Dragon or the Great Sasuke with all these belts. When I was a kid and I saw Ultimo Dragon with all those belts, I don't have no idea what these belts meant, but they were badass. You know, he looks like the ultimate champion. Like, he's just the baddest motherfucker on the planet. But I'm 40 now, 41. This girl got belts from Poland. That doesn't mean a goddamn thing. You know, that doesn't mean anything. It has no lineage. Has no history. You know, she's winning titles in broom closets. You know, and people are like, well, she's got these belts and she's giving these belts all this attention. You do realize that you reach a point of diminishing returns. She has so many championships that it's impossible to know what any of them mean or to look at any of them and know what they are. I can't tell the AEW belts from the CMLL belt she's got, from the Polish belt that she's got. I can't tell the difference. It's all just straps dangling off of her small body. They look like tassels at this point. They don't look like real championships. Anyway, she cried about this on social media. She thought people was making fun of her for having a huge ego and wanting all these championships, and thought that those people were lame and all that. Like, look, you can do the belt collector thing, but it only really works if the championships have value. If none of these belts have any value, then why even have them? You know, you better off just making these belts yourself and walking around calling yourself the real champion of, you know, Pakistan or something like that. Nobody's going to be able to question it. Nobody fucking knows. Anyway, Mercedes Moné came out to confront Alex Windsor. I don't know why, but she ended up punching Alex Windsor out, I think. They did something to Alex Windsor. So they had Athena and Mercedes Moné kind of in alliance indirectly. So there's that. And I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that Billie Starkz was going to be featured on Dynamite more than Athena. She's already has been. This is like her third match on Dynamite. And Athena has had 2 this year, I think. 2. The Young Bucks are backstage feeling disrespected. They chew out some production guys for ruining their entrances. They give them a note to give to Justin Roberts, and they want him to read it verbatim. So they have a match against what they call Brodito, which is a thrown-together tag team of Brody King and Bandito. The Young Bucks actually lost. I'm very impressed that they put their ego to the side to lose this match. They should have lost the first match, but they had a really trippy entrance again. They were called by their TNA names, Matt and Nick Buck. I think that's what their names were in TNA. The theme music was a little weird. The pyro was weird. The whole thing was supposed to be played up for laughs and gags, but it feels like they're playing. It doesn't feel legitimate. All right, it's missing something. I think it's heart. They're missing heart. I don't feel like they believe it. I feel like they're just doing a bit. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're doing a comedy skit rather than really having been demoted or left out of this situation. And Justin Roberts reading the card verbatim, Anchorman style, was funny. You know, I don't like that he read the exclamation points. I think he should have done what the exclamation points or the question marks said. You know, that would have been even funnier. Go full Anchorman. And then he wasn't on camera when he was doing his bit. It was over the PA system. So you could hear it, but you couldn't see it. Anyway, I'm not going to pretend like I watched a Young Bucks match. I didn't watch it. Anyway, Kyle Fletcher did a promo in the ring. Very generic promo. You know, he looks like Don Callis. If it wasn't for the peach fuzz on the head, and what the fuck are these tassels dangling from his eyes? It looks like he got, you know, chandeliers or something on his face. Look, if you're a pro wrestler, you're supposed to do things to stand out. And those eye tassels that he's got on his glasses are extremely obnoxious. I just want to know what they're called. Like, what are those things? Because they look creepy and it makes him look super gay. Super gay, you know. But I'm glad he's wearing them because it makes him look unique. Otherwise, he looks incredibly generic. He's just like a tall, white, bald guy. And he doesn't really have much to say either. He bragged about injuring Adam Cole and Dustin Rhodes, because now Dustin Rhodes is in his 50s and he's got to have double knee surgery. Holy guacamole. Maybe it's time to retire Uncle Dustin. Talked about he's going to be the GOAT TNT champion. Don Callis unveiled a homoerotic painting of himself and Kyle Fletcher in the nude. Kyle Fletcher's in the nude, covered with the TNT championship. I love these things. I love these goofy-ass paintings that Don Callis does. They're funny. Okay, they're legitimately funny. The promo didn't mean anything, and then they decided that he was going to announce that he's going to be wrestling and defending the TNT championship this weekend, and they announced his opponent as Tomohiro Ishii. So if you thought the Collision rating couldn't get any lower, they're going to bring the Japanese tree stump back. The guy has the charisma of an empty propane tank. And they're going to put him on Collision. Brilliant idea. Absolutely brilliant. Another brilliant idea. Edge says that the restraining order goes both ways between him and FTR. And he's going to have a match next week against Stokely because the PPO doesn't cover Stokely. And if FTR comes within 200 yards of this match, the PPO will be void, and then he's going to get his hands on them. Later, FTR says, well, the PPO wasn't for our protection, it was for yours. Now, Big Stoke is going to tear you apart. So Stokely calls himself bald, and he can't get any hoes. So you know he's been in fights. And I was like, no, nope. Nope. Don't take this seriously. He's a joker. He's a jokester. He's supposed to be scared. He's supposed to have a plan. He's supposed to be shaking in his boots. He doesn't really sell this, you know. But he called Edge a bully. You're a bully. Then he says Beth Phoenix's head is like a micro brawler, which I actually thought was funny because, I mean, her head is bigger than the rest of her body. And he called his children, Edge's children, of course, future delinquents. I'm pretty sure Edge wrote off on all of that. I'm not interested in this. It's clearly an angle. It's one of those things where they're promoting something that will not occur. Obviously, they're going to probably have some outside help protect Stokely, so maybe even the Hurt Syndicate to really put over that they're mercenaries. Stokely's going to come out with the Hurt Syndicate probably. Hey, he offered them some money, and they decided to have his back. Or maybe Ricochet and his goons are going to, but they're clearly not going to do Stokely versus Edge. That's kind of retarded. And if they do, the match should be 32 seconds. But Edge promised to tear Stokely's skin off a little at a time, Buffalo Bill style. So we'll see. There's another promo on the show from Swerve Strickland. It was generic, kind of boring. Didn't really put over my desire to see him wrestle Okada. There was a vignette for him and Okada as well. Not hype about this match at all. It's hard to get hype when Okada doesn't do anything and he's coasting off of some shit that happened 10 years ago. I mean, that would be like WWE doing some vignette for Shinsuke Nakamura. You know, like, well, Nakamura loses a lot, so maybe not. But I'm not interested about anything Okada has done. And Swerve, this just feels like another match. It doesn't feel like anything he's really got his teeth sunken into. He's been off the grid for a while, and I don't know. I feel like he's lost his edge. I think Swerve had a chip on his shoulder before he won the world title and during his early part as the world champion. I felt like there was something there with Swerve where they felt like they had to push him and he had to go out there and perform at the very best. And he was cutting really good promos and he was doing some really good stuff. But now it's almost like he's a made man, so he doesn't have to do that much anymore. And it's like that's not, no. You don't get to be like, oh, I was a top guy for a year, so all of a sudden this is, I can sleepwalk through this. It's like, no, I don't believe it. This is part of why I complain about the energy of Dynamite being so low, because this guy was a world champion not too long ago, you know, and it's almost it's so far in the rearview mirror now that it's almost like people don't remember that it even happened. You know, like it's crazy. Like he gets the whose house, Swerve's house reaction. And people like memeing his song, his really bad rap song, something about Publix. That's all I keep hearing is about some shit about Publix. You know, he has no content. I tried listening to like a short clip of that song, and he's just rapping, and I don't know what the point of the rap is. Like, I don't know what the point of the verse is. I don't know how it connects to the lyrics. I don't know what's going on here. But he said something about somebody getting cut from Publix, and I was like, what the hell is this shit? Is he just trolling? Is this a tax write-off? Is he telling everybody he's like a rapper? And that's why he brought Rick Ross out there. Like, do we got another cousin that's in the music business or something like that that's giving him free studio time? Because I can't imagine you paying for studio time and then you get what we heard, whatever that song is. Can't imagine. I would have been furious if we'd have paid money for you to go in there, write, and rap this. I'd have been pissed. You know, but hey, he's making more money than anybody ever in wrestling, apparently, according to Dave Meltzer and all these guys. So maybe he can afford his own little home studio. I know that's how R-Truth does his very bad raps too. So it is what it is. Everybody want to be a rapper now. They don't realize that rapping, like being a comedian, is a skill. Not something anybody can do. You just can't wake up one day and be Dave Chappelle. That shit don't work, you know? We've seen ball players do it too. You saw Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. All of them just woke up one day and decided they wanted to be a rapper. Deion Sanders. You know, and Swerve is kind of, he wants to be in that sort of category. He wishes he could be in the same category as Allen Iverson and Deion Sanders, but he ain't got that kind of swag. We let Deion Sanders get away with a whole lot because his touchdown dances were funny, and he was a really good player. Swerve, when you start talking about getting cut from Publix, I'm starting to pay attention to everything you do now. I'm finding that your eyebrows are uneven, and you need to retwist your locks and all kinds of other stuff. I'm finding all kinds of problems with you now. Tighten your rap skills up, homie. That's what I'm saying. Get some content. Go to Talib Kweli common route. Rap some wrestling shit. That's what you know. You've been wrestling for 30 fucking years or something like that. Leave Publix and Aldi alone, all right? Don't rap about Super Kmart. Don't start rapping about Target or any other big box store. Just chill, make your money wrestling, and save us the drama of these really bad raps. They're not even funny as memes anymore. Because I heard that and I was like, man, I know people was memeing the shit out of this, but it's not even funny as a meme. It's just bad rap music. Really bad. Really bad. The Rock's raps is better than that. Again, Dynamite has no energy. They are low testosterone. They're limp at this point. I should have just finished watching King of the Hill season, the new season of King of the Hill, rather than watching Dynamite. I could have just lied my way through watching Dynamite, but I actually did sit and look at the screen. I didn't, jot copious notes. But I was better off just watching King of the Hill than watching this. But duty calls, man. And you guys, I like doing reviews for you guys. I appreciate it. So, but these shows are boring. Somebody need to throw a dildo at like MJF or something. You know, I think that would get some energy, get some people talking. If somebody like flung a dildo at Hangman Page, or he might start doing cartwheels on it. If you did, but you need something to talk about. It's working for the WNBA. Hell, somebody need to chuck like a green dildo right at maybe Tony Storm. That'd be the perfect person to throw a dildo at. You know, if you could throw a dildo at a wrestler, who would you throw it at? I probably would say Tony Storm. She might be the most entertaining if you throw a dildo at her. Everybody else might, you know. I think Mercedes would freak out and probably cry and act like a WNBA player. But I think Tony Storm would legitimately have a blast if you just chucked a dildo at her. It'll be, she'd probably walk around with it, you know, playing with it and all kind of stuff. Man, she might be fun. She might make it fun. This would be a fun show if somebody threw a dildo at Tony Storm and then gave her 3 minutes to do whatever she wanted to do with this dildo. You know, that would be great. That would improve this program quite a bit. It'd be certainly have some things worth talking about. As of right now, though, this show is boring. It sucks. Nothing happens. It's about as bad as Collision. And it's getting to the point where there's really no point in discussing it. But, again, duty calls. But you guys be blessed. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Peace out.